My sister stormed my son's 10th birthday party with her kids. Share your toys right now. She shouted at him in front of everyone. I said, sure, let her kids play. Didn't say a word. That night, I canceled her Spotify, Netflix, Disney Plus, and Amazon Prime, all on my account for 7 years. At 9:47 a.m., she texted. It was a Saturday in June, a perfect summer day for my son Jamie's 10th birthday. We had set up our backyard with a long folding table, a cheerful blue tablecloth, and plastic dinosaurs marching down the middle. His new Switch game, still in its shrink wrap, sat on the gift table like a shining trophy. I was buzzing around, checking the cooler, the grill, the cake. Everything felt normal, happy. Then, at 2:30, my sister Kelsey just walked through our side gate without knocking. Her 3 kids trailed behind her, all sticky juice pouches and bare feet. Of course, she hadn't RSVP'd. She never did. She just yelled, "We're here," all loud and bright, like she owned the place. My sweet Jamie, polite to a fault, just smiled. He pulled his party hat down a little further over his ears. He's always been small for his age, thin wrists, a careful, gentle smile. Kelsey's youngest, a 4-year-old with cheeks already sticky from something, made a beeline for that gift table. He grabbed Jamie's new Switch game. Still sealed. Kelsey took it from him, then waggled it at me with this knowing smirk. Oh, we love these. Go ahead, kids, take turns on Jamie's Switch inside. Jamie didn't say a word. He just shifted his weight, foot to foot, and looked at me. My heart ached for him. He's never been great with chaos. He'd actually asked me earlier, can we just keep it low-key? Pizza, cake, cousins who don't break my stuff. He knows. He always knows. Kelsey clapped her hands, loud and sharp. Share your toys now. It was a command. Like a drill sergeant. Then, almost like she was doing me a favor, she added, we don't hoard in this family, okay? We share. A couple of my friends standing nearby went completely silent. You could hear the neighbors' wind chimes tinkling. Jamie reached for that game, then pulled his hand back like he'd touched something burning hot. His face went blank, that way it does when he's fighting back tears. He just stared at the grass. Then, one of Kelsey's boys squeezed past him, darting into our living room and grabbing the Switch dock with both hands. Another kid was already rifling through Jamie's Lego bin, popping bricks off finished builds. My throat got tight. I could feel my hands shaking, these small, stupid tremors that I desperately hoped no one else could see. But what did I do? I pasted on a big, fake smile because that's what I always do. Of course, I said, my voice unnervingly steady. Let them play. Jamie, show your cousins how to start the game. He looked at me like I'd just pushed him off a cliff. Then he just nodded. My quiet kid. My rule follower. He led them inside. Kelsey winked at me over her sunglasses. See, she said, that's what family is, and then she actually stuck a fork right into the side of the birthday cake to test the frosting. I just used a napkin to cover the stabbed hole, acting like it didn't matter. I laughed when I was supposed to. I passed out slices. I refilled the cooler. My phone buzzed with a work email, and I ignored it. Every time I glanced through the sliding door, I saw Jamie on the arm of the couch, watching his cousins mash buttons. A spectator at his own birthday. I should have said no. I should have told her to leave the gifts alone. But I didn't. I just stood there, heart thudding, making sure everyone else had what they needed. Let me back up a bit. I'm 39. I live just outside Sacramento. I'm a municipal budget analyst, which means I spend my days balancing numbers for a city that always wants more done with less. I like clean spreadsheets. I like things that add up. I'm married to Nate, who teaches 7th grade science. We have one kid, Jamie, who is careful with his things and asks questions like, do bees remember faces? We have a mortgage on a tan ranch with a lime tree in the backyard. We have a dog that sheds. Just normal life. My sister Kelsey is 34 and perpetually between things. Between jobs, between boyfriends, between leases. She has 3 kids. I'm not judging, but I know what it looks like because I'm often the between that fills in the missing parts. 7 years ago, I put everyone on my streaming accounts because it was just easy. Spotify family so the kids didn't have to hear ads. Netflix because mom didn't like commercials. Disney Plus just for the littles. Amazon Prime because Kelsey needed 2-day shipping for school supplies. It was 4 extra clicks to add her to my Amazon household. It cost me an extra $10, $12, $15 here and there for extra screens or a plan bump. It never felt like much. But it was never just that. When Kelsey's PG&E bill got shut-off notices, I zelled her $187.64 once, $110 another time. When mom's washer died, I paid the $689 for a new one at Home Depot because I had the card and the truck. When dad's tires were bald last winter, I put $412 on my Costco card for new ones. Last summer, I paid for a cousin's trip to Great America. 6 tickets, fast passes, just this once, $784, not counting the churros. We'll pay you back, they'd all said. Nobody ever did. I wrote it off like a line item in my personal budget. Entertainment. Community relations. Keep the peace. They loved it when I swiped my card. They loved it when things arrived in 2 days. But they didn't love Jamie like that. He's my only one. He's not loud. He doesn't push. He collects rocks and labels them. My parents call him sensitive in that tone that means less than. At Christmas, they buy him a single book while his cousins get drones and scooters and then say, well, Jamie loves to read. They never ask what he loves specifically. They hosted a cousin movie night last fall and sent photos to the family group chat. Jamie wasn't there. I asked, did we miss an invite? Kelsey replied, we only had 4 profiles on Netflix. No room. This, while her kids were using the 5th profile on my account, labeled Kids K. I didn't push. I saved the photo and pretended it didn't cut. Another time, Jamie's drawing of our dog didn't make it onto mom's fridge with the other grandkid art. She said she ran out of magnets. I offered one. She waved me off. Later, I saw she'd made room for a flyer about her bunko night. There were always these little things. My money got thanked. My kid got sidelined. I told myself I was reading into it. I told myself I was paying for convenience. I told myself family is messy. We do what we can. It got worse when I said no last fall to covering Kelsey's rent. She called me at 10 p.m. Voice shaky. Said she'd be evicted if I didn't Venmo $1,200 by morning. Nate and I had just been slammed with a new water heater that week. I told her I couldn't. I said I was sorry. She hung up. The next day, she added me back to her favorites on Cash App with a heart. The requests kept coming. $40 for gas, $28 for field trip fees, $60 for emergency groceries. Sometimes I sent $20. Guilt tipped the scale. Since then, the little slights weren't so little. I wasn't invited to the Sunday barbecue because it was just cousins and the kids play rough. They cropped Jamie out of a family photo before printing it for Grandma's mantle because it was a bad angle. They asked us to host Thanksgiving because your house is bigger, then showed up 2 hours late with 3 bags of ice and no side dish. They punished us for not being an open wallet by constantly reminding us and Jamie where we stood, on the edge. So, when Kelsey marched into our backyard and barked, "Share your toys now," in front of my son's friends and our neighbors and a few of my coworkers from City Hall, it wasn't about a Switch game anymore. It was about how my money meant more to them than my kid did. It was about who they thought I was supposed to be, a vendor, not a sister. A bank, not a mother. And I stood there and let it happen because I didn't want to make a scene at a 10-year-old's party. Because I'm good at swallowing things down. Because I am so used to picking up the bill that I forget I can put it down. After everyone left, I picked cake crumbs out of the grass. The sun slipped behind the fence. The house hummed with that post-party quiet. Balloons sagged. Plastic cups made little pyramids by the sink. Jamie stood in the doorway, holding his new game, still sealed. "Do I have to let them take it?" he asked, his voice so quiet. No whine, just a real question, which made it so much worse. "No," I said. "It's yours." I pulled him into me and felt his small shoulder blades under my hands. He smelled like sunscreen and frosting. "You were kind today," I whispered into his hair. "That matters." He nodded, but wouldn't meet my eyes. "They popped my Lego spaceship," he said. Accident, they said. I'm sorry, I said. I would have glued it back together, one brick at a time, if I thought it would fix anything bigger. Nate took him to brush his teeth. I loaded the dishwasher, staring at the magnets on our fridge. Jamie's dog drawing was holding up a pizza coupon. I moved the coupon so the drawing was on top. Stupid little thing. But I did it anyway. I wiped down the counter, rinsed the knives, threw away a fork with bent tines that must have lost a fight with Kelsey's cake test. My phone buzzed with a text from my aunt. He looked so happy when he blew out the candles. Love you. She sees things, my aunt. She never has money to spare, but she always brings a casserole. At 9:15, with the house quiet and the dog asleep under the table, I sat down with my laptop. I took a breath. I opened tabs. Netflix first. Email, password, manage account. Under Security and Privacy, I clicked Manage Access and Devices. The screen showed our TV, 3 tablets I recognized, and a stick-in-letters list of other devices. Kelsey's Fire Stick, Mom's Roku, a Vizio, an unknown. Profiles, me, Nate, Jamie, Kids K, Mom. I clicked Sign Out of All Devices. A pop-up asked, Are you sure? Yes. Yes, I was. Another screen said, It may take up to 8 hours. I changed the password. I flipped on 2-factor authentication. Done. Next was Disney Plus. Same dance. Account, device management. Remove, remove, remove. It wanted a verification code. I sent it to my phone. I watched Kelsey's iPad fall off the list like a heavyweight. I changed our password to one with no birthdays or pet names. I took a screenshot of the confirmation page for myself, like I was filing a receipt. Spotify family. I clicked Manage Family Accounts. It showed little circles. Me, Nate, Kelsey, Mom, Kelsey's kids. I clicked Remove on each until there was just me and Nate. I downgraded us to a duo plan to save the extra $5. A green checkmark blinked. You've updated your plan. That felt like closing a window on a draft. Amazon last, because it felt like the big one. I went into Amazon Household. It showed one adult added, Kelsey. Under shared payment options, my Visa sat there, available for use, with a tiny lock icon that did not mean what I thought it meant. I clicked Remove Adult. It warned me I'd lose family library sharing. I didn't care. I removed her. I went into Manage Your Content and Devices and hit Sign Out on devices I didn't recognize. I changed my password. I enabled 2-factor. Under Prime Video, I checked registered devices. There were 9. I left the living room TV. I dumped the rest. The dishwasher squeaked into its dry cycle. The house clicked and settled. I felt something unstick in my chest. I didn't touch the utilities. I didn't cancel anything else. I didn't text anyone. I didn't write a speech. I did exactly one thing. I took away access to the entertainment they used me for like air. I took my name off their screen. That's all. At 9:47, my laptop clock blinked. I clicked Close Household on Amazon. A banner popped up, Your household has been dissolved. It made me laugh, once soundless. Dissolved. Such a tidy word. I turned off the living room lamp and walked past the couch where Jamie's spaceship sat in 2 sad halves. I picked it up and set the pieces on his dresser for the morning. I stood in his doorway and watched him sleep, face turned to the wall, one hand curled like he was still holding onto something small. I'd promised myself a dozen times I wouldn't make money a weapon. I still believe that. This didn't feel like a weapon. It felt like putting my wallet back into my pocket and closing the clasp. It felt like saying, in the only language my family has listened to, if my kid is not counted, my money will not be endless. I plugged in my phone. I set it face down. I slept like a rock. At 9:47 a.m. the next morning, my phone started lighting up. Kelsey, Netflix logged me out. Then, and Disney, what the F? My kids were watching Moana, and you kicked them out. I didn't answer. I was making coffee. Jamie sat at the kitchen table, sorting Lego colors into bowls, his quiet way of breathing. 2 minutes later, Amazon, too. I have a cart full of school stuff. She called twice. Voicemail. Text. Pick up. This is childish. My kids are crying. Mom texted, "Your sister says you did something with the TV. Call me." This is petty. Dad sent a thumbs up. Then, "Your mother says, call." I replied to Kelsey once, "I removed you from my accounts. I'm not your backup bank. I won't fund a family my kid isn't part of." Her response came fast. "Are you serious? Because I asked your kid to share on his birthday? Grow up. This hurts the kids, not me." Then, "You're being vindictive. Is Nate behind this?" Nate looked up from his cereal. "Am I behind what?" He deadpanned, then softer, "You good?" I nodded. "I'm good. Kelsey, turn it back on now or I'm done. I'll tell Mom you're cutting us off." "Me? You're off my accounts, that's all." She sent a photo of her kids making sad faces. A year ago, it would have worked. Now it just made me feel sick. Little faces being used like currency. At 10:15, Mom called. I answered. "Sweetie," she said in that breezy voice, like she was fixing a centerpiece. "This seems out of proportion. Can't you add them back? The kids love their shows." "I love my kid," I said. "He spent his birthday watching other people play with his gifts in his own house. This isn't about shows. It's about how you treat him." "Oh, don't be dramatic," Mom said. Kelsey was teaching him to share. On his birthday, I said, with something he hadn't even opened. And it wasn't teaching, it was yelling. She didn't yell. She yelled. I was there. Mom sighed. "You're making a mountain out of a molehill. We're family." "I'm not your family entertainment budget," I said. I made one change. "The rest of your lives continue." A pause. "This is that boundary stuff, isn't it?" "Yes," I said. "It is." Then, casual again. "Well, we'll see you Sunday. Code 4, I'll show up and fix this in person." "We're busy Sunday," I said. Jamie had asked to go to the rock shop downtown. After we hung up, my aunt texted, "Heard some chatter. Proud of you. Come by if you need pie." Kelsey started a group chat with me and my parents and dumped paragraphs. I was punishing, controlling, rich now and rubbing it in. And Nate made me do it. I replied once, "I'm done paying for people who don't include my kid. That's all." Marco, usually silent, finally wrote, "Jamie is great. Let him pick the movie next time or I'm not coming either." It surprised me, like a small parachute opening. Around noon, Kelsey showed up at our door with her phone in her hand like evidence. Nate opened it while I tied Jamie's shoes in the hall. "We're leaving," Nate said gently. "Now isn't a good time." Kelsey wedged her hand on the door. "She can't do this. Tell her to stop. The kids are bored." Nate blinked. "There are books. Then you can text." She leaned to see past him and spotted me. "This is extreme. Say you're sorry and turn it back on." I felt the old version of me rise, ready to apologize, to patch it, to fix it. But I kept my feet planted. "I'm not sorry. We're not sharing accounts anymore. That's it." Her mouth wobbled, then hardened. "Fine, have fun alone. We're going to the rock shop," Jamie announced, as honest as ever. He held $1 toward her daughter, hiding behind Kelsey's leg. "You can come next time," he said quietly. That almost broke me, how his instinct was still to include. Kelsey made a sound like a scoff and left. We drove off. Jamie picked a piece of Labradorite that flashed blue when you turned it. We got milkshakes. The day felt quiet and clean. By dinner, the buzzing slowed. That night, I opened the group chat, scrolled past her wall of words, and set it to mute for 1 year. The little muted bell appeared. I slept. A week later, we hosted movie night. Not a family meeting, not a test, just a Friday. Popcorn on the stove, couch dragged closer to the TV. Marco came with his kids. My aunt arrived with a pie balanced on her palm, like she belonged in an old movie. Nate queued up the Iron Giant because Jamie wouldn't stop asking. The remote sat lined up on the entertainment center. The Switch dock was there, cords neat. Jamie put his game on the shelf himself. He didn't hover. He didn't guard. We still had 2 folding chairs out. Habit. They stayed empty. No announcement, no explanation. The dog claimed one like a throne. Marco's son asked about Jamie's rock collection, and Jamie lit up. He held up the Labradorite under the lamp. "It's called Labradorite," he said carefully, proud of every syllable. Marco's daughter said, "That's cool," and she meant it. My aunt caught my eye and nodded toward the empty chairs. You okay? I nodded back. I was. Halfway through the movie, the boy on screen said, "You are who you choose to be." I looked at Jamie, knees tucked up, eyes wide, safe in his own house. That shouldn't feel rare. But it did. On the fridge behind us, his dog drawing, his crooked birthday card still up, not as proof of anything, just because it mattered. Kelsey stayed quiet. Mom called twice with a new show she couldn't find anymore. I said, "We're still not sharing." She sniffed and changed the subject. Dad texted a squirrel on their porch. No showdown, no grand apology tour, just the quiet space where pressure used to be. One Sunday, Jamie and I fixed his Lego spaceship together on his rug, following the booklet piece by piece. When we finished, it still wasn't perfect. He leaned in and said, "I like it better now. It's ours." Later, I opened my accounts, not to change anything, just to look. Short list, clean numbers that made sense. I stood at the back door with my coffee and watched Jamie in the yard. Dinosaurs nodding at each other in his hands. Sunlight in his hair. I didn't feel like a winner. I felt like a mother, and that was better. The next morning, a note was tucked under a rock on our porch from Marco's daughter. "Thank you for the movie. Jamie is nice." I put it on the fridge with the dog drawing and the birthday card. Our little gallery of what matters. People will say it was just TV, just a game. But I know what it was. I won't fund a family my kid isn't part of. That boundary stayed. We did too. This story isn't about being selfish or getting even. It's about a simple truth. When you constantly give, but your child constantly receives the least respect, you're not building family. You're funding your own isolation. So, here's some valuable advice I learned the hard way. Stop explaining your boundaries. Just set them. Change passwords. Cancel autopay. Remove access. No drama. No justifications. Pay attention not to words, but to actions. Who asks about your child's feelings? Who includes them in plans without reminders? Those are your real people. If people disappear after you set boundaries, they valued your wallet, not you. And remember, your first responsibility is protecting your child, even from relatives, especially from relatives who treat your generosity as an entitlement and your child as an inconvenience. Your no teaches your child that their worth isn't negotiable. So, I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to set a hard boundary with family? What did you do? And how did it turn out? Let me know in the comments below, because these stories, they're important.